Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I just told our next guest that I don't know what day it is, so this interview should go really well.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, I'm not shy to say it, and I know there's a lot of great choice out there, but this is my favorite Canadian show. It's called Blackstone. I call it like Sopranos in Canada, but our next guest, Justin Rain, who's one of the stars of the show, said it's like north of 60 on adrenaline.
It sure is. How are you, Justin?
Great. How are you guys?
Good.
Well, congrats
nice to see
on
you.
the show. This is the second season, and I mean, the first season was amazing. And for those who might not know, tell us a little bit about Blackstone.
Well, Blackstone is a one-hour episodic drama series about life on a reserve called Blackstone, and it highlights, you know, some of the elements that are involved with living on a reserve.
Yeah. And unlike a lot of other shows, it really is about the internal struggles on the reserve itself, and really shows the community, and kind of has an ensemble cast. Tell us about you and who you play.
Well, I play Alan Fraser, son of Andy Fraser, the corrupt, evil villain chief.
Andy is not a pleasant man.
He's a jerk.
Your father on this show is not a good dude.
No, he'll cut your throat if you're not watching closely.
Did you guys, you know, I'm curious because the first season, I mean, I mentioned that we had Carmen Moore, who's one of your co-stars on the show. We had her on last year, and this really got me hooked on this series, and I started watching it, and I just wondered how much sort of blowback you guys got about this portrayal of you know, politics, money, struggle, life, and all this stuff. Was there some heat that you guys received?
Yeah, you know, like I go to various First Nation events, powwows, dances and stuff, you know, autograph signings. You know, I've had some people come up to me and, you know, share their opinion about the show, and really focused on the negative light that it shines on Indigenous communities across Canada and the US. And, you know, what I say to that is just, you know, there's an equilibrium. There's good and bad, you know. There's just as much good light through this story of Blackstone as there is negative, you know.
And I think it's so important to have realism, whether it's about a reserve or any other community. I mean, you can't sugarcoat life on TV all the time.
That's what the medium should be, right? I mean, it should be a form of communication where you're forcing people out of their comfort zone a little bit and talking about
Totally, and like that's what art is, right? You're trying to provoke an emotional response. I think any response, you know, you've done your job.
Well, it's so intense in the show. I get super stressed out when I watch it, and a lot of people who watched it last year will know that we left on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and we are under legal obligation to not reveal that, because Mike and I have seen what happens, but
there were gunshots.
Yeah, and nobody knows what happened. But tell us where your character was at the end of the season, and maybe a little bit about where he's going to be going.
Well, throughout the first season, you know, it was that whole forbidden love thing, you know, when he started hanging around Sheila Delarond and that Romeo and Juliet element, and the struggles that, and the stresses that he was put through by his family, mostly his father, because of the hatred that he has for that family, and them trying to, you know, butt him out of that power position that he has over the community. Yeah. And, you know, him and Sheila, they go through what a lot of young adolescent youths go through, exploring, you know, new relationships and falling in love.
Yeah, this is going to last forever, and then the roadblock.
We'll fight for each other.
Your character, you know, it's fascinating because, you know, you talk about the other side of this, and yeah, it's controversial, and there's a lot of people doing things that are bad, but, you know, your character is an interesting guy because he's protected from a lot of that, because there is this desire to have you live a better life, and to get outside of this system and this struggle and everything else.
And like another thing too is, you know, the closer the series becomes to the end, like the cliffhanger thing, you know, Alan Fraser, he always just kind of turned a blind eye to the arguments and the fights that he'd witness in the house. Like he knows what's going on, but he
doesn't want to mix in it.
And I think in season 2, you know, it comes to a point where, okay, I can't ignore this anymore, and more things start to happen.
Well, we're going to look at a clip right now. Tell us what we're going to see in this one.
I believe this is a clip of me having a conversation with Mother and me
making some life decisions.
Making that step out of the house.
The bird leaving the nest. Here's a scene from Blackstone.
Well, why don't you drive back and forth? We bought you that truck. I'll pay for gas.
Mom, in rush hour, it's like 3 hours of my life wasted every day.
It's not a waste to see your mom every night.
No, that's not what I meant.
Well, how are you gonna pay for a place?
I'll get a job.
Yeah, right. You work?
Really, Mom, with the amount of extra homework, the study groups, I'm not gonna be able to commute back and forth every day.
Well, then how are you gonna work?
Do you want me to focus on school and make the best of it or not?
Nice. Now, the writing is airtight on this show. Everything looks great. It must be pretty cool for you as a younger actor to walk on that set every day, because when you read that cast list, dude, it's like a who's who of acting in this country.
Yes, it feels good. You know, it's a bit of a confidence booster.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, just standing with them and being around other artists that are as successful as they are, you know, that rubs off.
How did you
Now, we wouldn't be remiss. We just have to talk about Twilight, because people know that you were on that film.
You were in Twilight?
As well. Speaking of standing around other people on a cast, what was it like being on Twilight with the buzz around those movies? It must have been insane.
That was, I did a bit of a dance the day I got the call, and hey, guess where you're gonna be on the set of Twilight. Yeah, that's just another, you know, I like to call it a little check mark on the resume.
Yeah.
That's a good check mark.
Yeah, as you go through it. Well, and you do a lot of good things. I mean, you mentioned earlier going back into communities and talking to kids and talking to stuff. How did you get into acting, and how did you get into performing?
Well, short story, you know, I moved out here 6 years ago to be an architect. I started upgrading at BCIT, and, you know, this being an industry city, a film industry city, I started making friends, you know, going out, socializing, and, you know, I started hanging around actors, filmmakers, writers, and I just became more and more curious about the industry, and, you know, I started auditing classes, and one thing led to the next.
And the architecture
5 years later,
fading.
Here I am on Urban Rush talking to you guys.
Yeah, man. Well,
Is this better than Twilight?
Yeah. Our floor director will fill in for the screaming girls.
Okay, you have to watch Blackstone. Season 2 premieres tonight. Do not miss it. I hope you get a chance to PVR Season 1. It airs at 9 o'clock on APTN. Thanks so
awesome
much.
Stuff.
Congratulations to you and everyone else involved.
Thanks.
We're going to take a break, and when we return...